What is up, guys? My name is Danny. Welcome back to Jones Vibes. Summer 2025 is officially coming to an end, and we had a lot of great movies come out. There were several different movies heading into this summer season that I was anticipating in a big way, and that rarely happens. Typically, when you're heading into the summer season, it's like maybe one or two movies you're really excited about, and then the rest might surprise you. But this time around, I was like, I can't wait for Superman. I can't wait for I Know What You Did Last Summer. I can't wait for Jurassic World. Like, all of these movies were coming out, and I was just stoked. And now, on the other side of it, I've seen all of these movies, and I decided to make a top 5 list, my top 5 favorite movies from summer 2025. I don't know how you guys are feeling about a lot of the movies that just came out, but I feel like some of them really lived up to the hype, and some of them really didn't, and so that's why this list was sort of fun to make. There were also a couple surprises that came out this summer that weren't even on my radar. I did not expect to like these movies as much as I did, but here we are. So, before I get going, I do want to let you know to leave your list down in the comments section. I would love to hear about your top 5 movies of 2025, and to start with mine, I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way to the top. Also, at the end of the video, I do have a couple notables because there were a couple movies that didn't quite make the list, but I felt like I wanted to talk about them still. So, number 5, I'm going with K-Pop Demon Hunters. And when I talk about movies that were not on my radar, this was the one. This was the movie that I hadn't even heard of. This movie came out, it started making the rounds, everybody started talking about it, and so I decided to sit down and film a reaction for it. And I think for some people, maybe even people my age, this movie might not be appealing. Obviously, maybe people my age with kids probably find it appealing, and their kids love it. I mean, kids are going crazy for this movie. Apparently, there's some sing-along thing they're releasing in theaters that's already making a bunch of money, and so it is a big phenomenon, but definitely some people might not like it as much as me, just because I'm a musician. So, like, if there is a music-forward film, whether that be just a musical or something more like this, I typically tend to give it more of a chance than maybe other people might. And with this, I very much went into it expecting maybe sort of a Disney vibe, you know, and the music to be pretty good and to come out on the other side and be like, well, that was a fun watch. But the music was really what set it apart. The songs in this movie were golden, no pun. I've never been into K-pop, I've never listened to K-pop, but this movie did a really, really great job at telling a compelling story which drew you in, and then just having really solid tracks that just kind of keep you coming back. Like, I haven't watched the movie since I watched it, but I've definitely listened to the songs a couple times because they're catchy, man. But again, it's one of those things where had you told me at the beginning of this summer that K-Pop Demon Hunters was going to be your number 5 favorite film of the summer, I don't know. I would have thought you were lying to me, but here we are, my friends. We made it. But moving on to number 4, I'm putting The Naked Gun. The Naked Gun reboot. And if you saw my review on the channel, you heard me probably talk in detail about just where we are in the state of comedy right now and how much I feel that the world needs comedy in this present moment. And this movie, this franchise specifically, I felt like was such a good starting point to start kind of getting over that hump as a society and learning to just laugh again. Like, they've announced the new Scary Movie's going to come out, and they're probably going to do a sequel for this, and I just feel like this is the type of humor that is perfect for us. Oftentimes when you see something rebooted, especially this franchise, seeing that this franchise was going to be rebooted and obviously it wasn't going to have Leslie Nielsen, it's easy to kind of write that off. But the way that they went about it, like, they told a really fun story, but it really does come down to Liam Neeson. Like, his performance was everything, and it also has to do with the history of him as an actor, you know what I mean? He is the guy that we've all grown up with. He was Qui-Gon Jinn. He has so many different roles and other things, and then he got into the Taken franchise and The Grey, and he's done a lot of these super serious movies. And so to see him in such a silly role, to be so freaking unserious, and then to have Pamela Anderson, and she's had this resurgence over the past couple of years, they just nailed it. They flat out nailed it. I know that Seth MacFarlane was involved in this movie, and I feel like that played a big hand in it. But whatever, like, the secret sauce is to make an audience go crazy in theaters, they did it. Like, they cracked that code, and it was such a thrilling thing to be a part of. For the first time in so long, I sat in a theater and I had tears in my eyes. Tears were streaming down my face, but everybody else was having the same experience. And I said this in my review as well, but when I stood up, everybody was just looking around at each other. Everybody was so surprised that they just had that experience, and we all just wanted to share it together. And that's what a movie should do. Like, it collectively should bring us all together and be an experience that you have that you can't even get at home. I know people are going to enjoy this at home. They're going to laugh with their families, and that's going to be a beautiful thing, but nothing beats that theatrical theatrical experience, that comedy theatrical experience. And I grew up with a lot of those. So Naked Gun, you are amazing, and you got my number 4 spot. But moving on to number 3, this is a movie that I hardly even have to say anything about because it seems like the entire world is loving it as well. But Weapons. Zach Cregger made a freaking, I mean, not to exaggerate here, but a freaking masterpiece, man. And everybody who was a part of this cast came together and they made something cool. They made something different. Barbarian was a really fun movie, and it definitely put Zach Cregger on the map for me, but I didn't expect something like this. I loved the way that the story was told, but more than anything, I just loved the freedom that I felt from the filmmaker. It just felt like everybody involved was having a blast, and it just felt like art. Does that make sense to you? Like, it felt like I was watching a piece of art that didn't have a studio mixed in with it that's trying to be like, maybe you should cut the second half a little bit and do this and do that. Like, Zach Cregger told the story that he wanted. He split it up into however many parts, 6, 7 parts. You got all of these A-list actors to come together, and it just works, man. It's frightening, it's freaking hilarious, and it's its own thing. Like, it's hard to describe to anybody before they see it what this movie is like, but it's another one of those movies that kind of gets people a little bit more on board with horror as a genre. And horror as a genre is such a beautiful thing. And oftentimes when you try to have conversations with people about it, they're like, oh no, I don't do scary movies, man. And oftentimes I get frustrated because I'm like, yeah, but that's not it. Like, you don't get it. Just watch one of these movies. It's not about being scary. And when you watch Weapons, yes, it is a horror movie technically, but like, the visceral, shocking stuff is besides the point. Like, it's telling a story, a very compelling story, and I just freaking loved it. I had a blast with Weapons. I hope you guys too. I know a lot of people out there did too, so that's been good to see. But moving on to my number 2, this was a movie that going into the summer I was anticipating very, very highly. I honestly was thinking this could end up being my favorite movie of the summer just because you have Kaczynski coming back for this. He had just come off of Top Gun Maverick. This is a director that's phenomenal. Tron Legacy, like, he just has an eye for these big blockbusters. You have Brad Pitt coming in. The movie I'm talking about is F1. And you attach that star power to one of the world's most popular sports that domestically, here at least in the United States, it's not that popular, but it's having kind of this come up with the Netflix series, Drive to Survive. At least my wife and I, we've gotten really into this sport. We have the F1 pass, and we watch every race every weekend, you know what I mean? Like, we're super into it. And so to have this movie come out now, it just felt like perfect timing. And again, you attach Brad Pitt to this, an iconic star. He is the classic movie star, you know what I mean? He's somebody that you look at and there's just no denying. He's a charming dude. He's also just a strong dude, and he's able to carry a film like this in a similar way to maybe a Tom Cruise in Top Gun, you know what I mean? These big blockbusters, as cheesy as people might make them out to be, they're hard things to carry as an actor. I mean, the entire thing is sitting on Brad Pitt's shoulders, as well as the director's ability to make something truly thrilling. And what he does is he puts you in the race. He puts you in these freaking F1 races, and it's so much fun, dude. By the end, the final race, the final lap of the final race was one of the best experiences I've had in theaters, at least in the past 5-10 years. It was beautiful. I thought Damson Idris was spectacular, and it definitely put him on the map for me. I'm not somebody that has seen Snowfall. I haven't seen some of the other work that he's done, and so I watched this movie and I watched him in it, and there was rumors about him maybe taking up the mantle as Black Panther, and I'm like, bro, put him in the MCU because he can carry a freaking movie. You know what I mean? If they make a sequel to F1, I feel like it could be about him. But as for this movie specifically, I went out immediately after seeing it, and I told my parents to go see it. I told my family to go see it. I told friends to go see it. I told everybody to go see it because it's a very, very unique experience to have in the theater. It's unlike anything. It's like a thrill ride. You know what I mean? It's like going to an amusement park, riding a roller coaster. This is what summer blockbusters are all about. And I hope that all of us never forget that. You know, F1 is the type of movie that you have to go and see on the biggest possible screen with the best possible sound. And you just have the time of your life. And I can't believe they pulled it off. They really did. It's a superb movie. But moving on to my number 1, if you know me around here, I mean, heck, look at the poster behind me, dude. Like, I'm absolutely obsessed with what is happening with the DCU right now. And all of that started, well, technically it kind of started with Creature Commandos, but that's besides the point. That was a good show, but most of it started with this movie because this movie, it delivered. My number 1 is Superman. And kind of polar opposite to K-Pop Demon Hunters, like had you told me that Superman coming out of the summer was going to be my favorite movie, I probably would have believed you, because this is something that I felt like I needed. I needed some type of movie with Superman to convince me that this character is worth following, is worth believing in. Like Batman as a character is somebody that I absolutely love. And The Batman is a movie that I can turn on anytime. I can turn on the Dark Knight trilogy anytime. I can turn on the old school Batman movies anytime. Like, I love that character. Superman, on the other hand, I never revisit those movies. Like, I was kind of into the Snyder movies. I thought they were quite a bit of fun, but this was the movie that I needed, and James Gunn delivered in such a big way. It's a movie about hope. It's a movie about feeling positive. It's a movie about just being better, just striving to be better every single day, just striving to be a good human being every single day. And also, it was an acknowledgement that, like, the world is a good place. There's so much beauty in this world, and after maybe 10, 15 years of superhero films that were very much angled towards, like, the dark take on the hero that you know what I mean? And that was fair back then. Like, we hadn't seen that, but coming out of 10, 15 years of that, it was just so good to see this splash of color on the character, and also, again, just to understand what he is and what Clark Kent as well as Superman embodies. And this is also a very exciting thing to be a part of, because now you do have this start of the DCU, and Superman was a very successful film at the box office, and so now we do get that. I recently saw James Gunn talking about how relieved he feels now, because he can kind of just relax and then get to work, you know what I mean? And this was the pivotal moment for them. This was the movie that needed to do good, and it wasn't just a good movie, it was a fantastic movie, dude. Like, I'm obsessed with Superman, and I think it really was the second time that I watched it. I always encourage people to watch a movie a second time, even if you hated it the first time. Like, go watch it a second time. I loved Superman the first time I watched it, but something about the second viewing, I swear, I was crying from like start to finish. I don't know what it was, but it just hits me emotionally, whether it be the score, the dialogue, the writing, the cinematography is beautiful, and just the story that it's telling. It had a major impact on me, and so I was excited about that. I'm excited about the future of the DCU, and I'm excited about David Cornsweet as Superman. He's, I guess I can plainly say he is my Superman. And so those are my top 5. It's been an amazing summer, a lot of great movies. I do have a couple notables that I want to talk briefly about, just because I felt like, I don't know, going into the summer, I definitely would have thought of the first one, Fantastic Four. I definitely would have thought that would have been on my top 5 list, and although I really enjoyed Fantastic Four, I loved what it was, I just can't help but feel like there's this aura to the MCU right now that just doesn't get me excited. As much as I loved that movie while I was watching it, immediately afterwards, I didn't have any sort of a reason to go back and watch it again. There was nothing compelling enough about it. Also, like, it's sort of dark within its tone and its cinematography. It kind of feels a little bit weighed down, and it's just not really a movie I want to revisit that often. And that's not to say that every movie should be judged about what's going to happen after it and what it's connected to, because that's definitely not the case here. Like, Fantastic Four, it was a great movie. I gave it 4.5 stars, but there's just something about it. Something, honestly, I can't even put my finger on it, but there's just something about it that makes me not really want to watch it again, and kind of make me think that it's not one of my favorites of the summer. It's a good movie, just not as good as these other ones. The second movie, the second notable here that I want to talk about, is actually a film that I do feel like stands shoulder to shoulder with a few of these, and that is Ari Aster's Eddington. This is a movie that I went and saw a couple weeks after it was released. I didn't end up getting around to a review for it here on the channel just because I was a little bit late for it, but I have had a lot of thoughts about this movie. I absolutely loved this movie. I thought it was so dang clever. I thought it was so well acted, and it just touches, I think it touches a nerve for a lot of people that might see it, because it's alluding to the fact that everybody went crazy in 2020, at least on the outside perspective. Like, when you're just looking at a lot of the different pieces throughout this film, they are exaggerated versions of a lot of the things that we saw in 2020, and I found a lot of the movie very, very enjoyable for that reason. I found it very laughable for that reason. I also found found it very dark for that reason. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that makes you feel something. It makes you uncomfortable, but that's kind of the point of film, yeah? Like, the point of film is definitely to be a subjective experience, and so you go into it and you take out of it what you will, and personally, I had a hell of an experience watching this movie. I really did. The only thing that I dislike about this movie is the type of discourse that stems from it, and that in no way is the filmmaker's fault. It's just when you make a political film like this, people tend to gatekeep their political opinions online and be like, if you didn't think that this movie was about XYZ, then you actually didn't get the movie. I hate that shit. I really do, because what I got from it truly was a pretty simplistic idea that, like, everybody lost their minds in 2020. It was insane, and it was crazy to see this on screen and see a story told kind of like echoing a lot of the pieces and the things that we've gone through in the real world. But as far as like any sort of objective, overt message that this movie was trying to preach, maybe I missed it or something like that, but I really don't like when people try to take these types of films and put their own political thing on it to try to make it their own and also try to make others feel bad that they didn't have the same experience. You know what I mean? But I don't know. If you haven't seen Eddington, it definitely went under the radar for a lot of people because of how many good movies came out this summer, but I highly suggest checking it out. At least when it comes to streaming, I'm not sure it's still in theaters, but definitely go check this movie out. If you're an Ari Aster fan, or if you're just into Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, it has a great cast, and I highly suggest it. But that's about it, guys. That was my top 5 list. It was a very fun summer season, but now we're moving into spooky season, and I am so freaking excited about that. I'm so excited. It's scary movie season. It's horror season. Let's go. Summer is over. I love you, Superman. It was a lot of fun, but it's time to start watching some scary stuff. But my friends, please put your top 5 list down in the comments. I would love to see it, but more than anything, I hope you're out there keeping up the good vibes. I will see you in the next video, all right? Peace!